Hey everyone, my name is Drake. Today we're going to be doing a video on Navy life. So, what it's like to be on your sea tour. I have been in the Navy now for about 5 years. I'm on duty today, and I thought we would cover this topic since last time I did a video I was on duty. I kind of just talked about anime and things like that. But today I thought I'd go over this topic because there might be some people out there, if you're considering joining the Navy and you're like, hey, what's life like on a ship? Or if you're, at your A school or your C school, going through your training, and you're like, hey, what's it going to be like when I get to the ship? Well, kind of cover a lot of the things that you're going to need to know, or things that you're going to want to know in order to be successful and to manage your expectations about what life is like on board the ship. So, just covering a little bit of the basics. So, in the Navy, there's rates, and in the other branches they call them military occupational specialties, and essentially it's your job. What do you specialize in? So when you come out of boot camp, everyone is a sailor. Just very basic understanding about military instructions, military bearing, what's okay, what's not okay, and then your basic functions of being either a sailor or a soldier, airman, marine. And the different branches have their different focuses. For Marines, their basic focus is infantry. Same with the Army. Air Force, it's not really sure. With the Space Force, I don't really know. But for the Navy, it's manning ships and basic seamanship, as they call it. You're going to need to know some basic swimming, how to handle lines and things like that. But after you're done with that, you go into an area of specialty. That's what your job is. And that could be anything from being a cook to navigating the ship, to your more technical rates, which is mine, which would be working with electronics, radars, communication systems, navigation systems, or even satellite communications, weapon systems, things like that. So there's a plethora of jobs out there that you can choose from. Some of them have more lucrative opportunities once you leave the military than others, but it's all military service. It's all waking up every day, putting your boots on, or not every day, but whatever days you have work, either when you're underway. We'll get into that in a little bit, but putting your boots on, putting your uniform on, showing up to work on time, doing what you got to do, doing what you're told, and that's honestly 60% of it is just that, showing up on time, doing what you're told. And if you do that, you'll go far enough. The rest of it is, if you really want to succeed, you're going to have to take on more responsibilities. You're going to have to really dive into the technical and administrative knowledge that's in your system, that's in your field, and really grow into that and to take on and do what the next pay grade would be. So you should be mentoring. You should have a mentor of a person that's one pay grade above you at the least, and learning from them and being hey, what functions of your job do you do? And just being observant. What does an E6 typically do? What does their job entail? What responsibilities do they take on? What's normally what you see of an E6? If you're pay grade below, what do you see E5s doing? The good ones, the ones that have a good reputation. Another thing is, just generally in the military, is your reputation is, just like in life, your reputation is for your work ethic, your leadership qualities, all your honesty and integrity. All of that is huge. It plays a huge role into how people perceive you, and when you're going to be in line for promotions, things like that. So, getting into a little bit about what to expect with sea duty. So just basics, so we covered a little bit about what your military occupational specialties are, or in the Navy, your ratings. But then you also have a rotation. So I'm not really quite sure how it works in other branches, but at least in the Navy, we have what's called a sea-shore rotation. So when you're on your sea rotation, you're attached to a ship. You show up to that ship Monday through Friday when it's in port, and you deploy or go on underways with the ship whenever the ship is going underway. When you're on your shore rotation, you're attached to a shore installation, a shore facility, or a shore command. And during that time, you show up Monday through Friday, and then duty works a little bit differently on there. Some of them have them, some of them don't. But that's the other thing with the military is like everybody has a very wildly different experience, not just from command to command and from job to job, but just also from rank. If you're enlisted or if you're officer, everything's going to be totally different. So take what I'm saying as a grain of salt, but I'm definitely going to give you like a good insight. Definitely going to give you good insight as to like what you're actually going to be doing on a ship. So right now I'm on my C rotation, and your C rotation, you show up, like I said, Monday through Friday, and you do your job. Your duty section is going to be based off of how many sections your ship has. It's never going to be 7. In other words, you're not going to have duty every day of that week. So every Monday you have duty, for example. It rotates enough so that everybody gets a weekend. So you might be in a 4-section duty, 5, 6. In my case, I'm in an 8-section duty. So every 8 days I have duty. I stay on the ship. Might have watch, manning the supervising desk, things like that, and you're just basically here to serve like the basic functions of the ship. You still have your lunch, break time, downtime, making videos, so there's tons of downtime, but as long as it's not too busy, then you can kind of just do what you want, but you're confined to the ship. You have to stay here in case of fire, emergency, providing some sort of basic function of like escorting people or things like that, things of that nature. So after you're done with your basic training, and then after you're done with your more advanced training, you're going to get sent to a ship. If you're on your first sea rotation, some people go to a shore installation right out of basic training. They're very, very lucky people. But most of us get sent to a ship. At the ship, you're basically going to check in, and you're just going to try to like navigate and find out like where you're at. You might get thrown into a duty section, probably about a week or 2, and during that period, you're going to be what's called like indoctrination. You're going to be getting acclimated to like where your rack is, or like where your bed is at on the ship. You're going to be getting acclimated to like where your division has spaces, and where you go for muster, where you go for chow, where you go for the head, things like that. You're going to have a sponsor. It should be your mentor that is escorting you and showing you around, getting you checked in, showing you where everything is at. Those, at least for the first couple of months. During that time, you're getting acclimated. You're going to be learning your basic functions of your job. You're going to be getting some basic qualifications like 3M. 3M is the maintenance management program. You're going to be getting some what they call like basic deck watches, messenger of the watch, petty officer of the watch, things that you can do on your duty day to be useful to your duty section. And these qualifications go a long way of showing your chain of command all the way up that you're taking on responsibilities, that you're taking your job seriously, and that you have an appetite and room to grow. Now, what I would caution is competency, it seems, is not just in the Navy but in the real world as well, is on low supply. So if you're very competent and you're very good at your job, you are going to be counted on continuously to take on new responsibilities and to excel and to grow in your level of knowledge and things like that, which is great. But there is a tendency of burning people out in terms of like making them do too much, and it can be very frustrating if you're doing that and you look around and other people aren't really doing the same thing. One, those people aren't really going to be getting promotions, and if they are, then you can voice your concern and have those things addressed. 2, it can just be frustrating in general to not get help when you're the one that's like, constantly the go-to person. Now, what I would caution in terms of being like jaded about that situation is there's a saying that I heard, or an expression, that once people stop asking you questions, they basically don't trust you anymore. So at a certain point in your career, you're going to get to a point where people are coming to you constantly with questions. Hey, what do I do for this? Hey, what do I do for that? Especially in a more technical rate, because there's just so many things to it. And then with that experience, because you spend a lot of time working on the equipment, working on maintenance, working on understanding instructions, and then encountering different things that really just experience alone is gonna shine through. And once you get to that level where people are asking you questions all the time, that's where you know that you're basically like in line for promotion. You're the new subject matter expert, as we call them, and that's a really great spot to be in your career. But you also sort of have to take into consideration that if you're just answering people's questions all the time and not providing them with the resources, providing them with the references, and providing them with training so that they can answer questions for other people, well, then you're sort of putting your division into a spot where they can't function without you. And no job is permanent. There's no such thing as permanency in the military. So you constantly have to be training the people behind you, and you constantly have to be putting them into situations where they grow and actually learn the material for themselves, also without burning them out. So that's where your leadership qualities are going to be taken into place. And when your upper chain of command sees that, when they see like, okay, well, this person went from student to expert to teacher and mentor, that's the proper way of like transitioning in your career. Is you shouldn't just be hoarding that information for yourself. You're not doing anybody any favors. The division is going to go on without you. You know, that division on that ship has been there long before you, and it will be there long after you. So you have to take that in consideration. You know, so for some of you, you might also be wondering, okay, when I get to the ship, what should I focus on? Like I was saying, qualifications, learning your job, finding a mentor. The best way to do it, and this not just for the military, but for other areas of, for civilian jobs as well, is find the person that has the most competency, the most respect, and the most, integrity in their job, and learn from them as much as you can. Learn from them on the job and ask them tons of questions, and then be their shadow and learn how they do the job, how they think about it, and just like a sponge soak all that in. That's basically what I did, and it worked out well for me. I'm getting up to my last 4 or 5 months here on my ship. Definitely looking forward to my shore rotation, because you see, rotation is going to be very arduous. You're going to go on lots of underways depending on your ship's schedule, but during that time you're going to learn a lot. I really can't tell you how much this experience has changed me in terms of being able to take on new levels of responsibility, understanding leadership to a new degree, and managing multiple projects all at once. And all those skills, I think, will really do me well, not just in what comes after this, but in my personal life as well. So I think that's probably a good place to leave it. You know, there's a lot of like general information. So if you have more specific things that you'd like to ask me, you can ask in the comments. Please make sure to hit the like button, and subscribe. This is my YouTube channel. I do a lot of music on here, just showcasing my own original music that I do, because before the Navy I was a professional musician. And I also show a lot of like clips and things like that from hanging out with my dog Boba. She's a corgi, and I love being with her. She's the best. And also, of course, videos of me hanging out with my wife and with her. So please give me a like, help my channel grow. Yeah, and if you have any questions about Navy life, electronics technician, what it's like to be active duty, definitely shoot me in a question in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. Hopefully that gives you some idea of what to expect when you're going onto your shore rotation, your sea rotation. And but yeah, this is Drake with Drake Martinez Music, and looking forward to seeing your guys' comments. Thanks, have a good one.